When you get too old to produce anymore, they hand you your hat and they show you the door. And you're too old to work, too old to work. When you're too old to work, you're too young to die. Who will take care of you while you get by when you're too old to work and you're too young to die? You don't ask for favors when your life is through. You've got a right to what's coming to you. Your boss gets a pension when he is too old. You helped him retire, you're out in the cold. And you're too old to work, too old to work. When you're too old to work and you're too young to die. Take care of you while you get by when you're too old to work and you're too young to die. They put horses to pasture, they feed them on hay. Even machines get retired someday. The bosses get pensions when their days are through. Big pensions for them, brother, nothing for you. And you're too old to work, too old to work. When you're too old to work.
And this is The World of Work, and I'm your host, Shep Cohen. Our guest today is Jessica Weaver. She is a wealth advisor and best-selling author of Strong Woman, Stronger Assets, and Time to Refine. She's also a blogger of Not Your Father's Advisor. After spending 11 years in the finance industry, she decided to go in a different direction and to create new and innovative ways to help women build and grow their wealth. She's a spiritual money leader, helping women find their path forward and to shift from lacking to abundance and to optimize their wealth. Jessica Weaver, welcome to The World of Work. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today.
Thank you, Shep. Yes, I am really excited to be here today. Spend some time with you.
And what exactly separates you from the herd in business?
Wow. So when I feel like that's a loaded question, but when I started out in the industry 11 years ago, but I also grew up in the industry. My father has been an advisor for over 40 years.
Oh.
So I remember being 8 years old on the family room floor, stuffing mailers for him, those cold mailers going out to everybody. And then I spent summers interning and working for him. I started getting licensed in college. Once I graduated, I just was thrown right into the finance industry. And Shep, I spent the first about 5 years, I did exactly what I was told to do. I did what was expected of me. And what happened was I found my clients were getting just the industry standard. And there was nothing different from me than any other advisor that they worked with. I really cared. I really do care about my clients. I put my heart and soul into it. But I knew there was more for me, and I knew there was more for my clients. So I started making significant shifts about 5-6 years ago, and I started my blog, Not Your Father's Advisor. I started running events just for women to have this safe environment for them to come, nail out their money issues, their money fears, what's holding them back, why are they being held back, so that they can step into their greatness, into their power with money, really what lit them up about money. And once we tap into that well, the money just flows easily and freely in their life.
Now, I introduced you as a spiritual money leader. What does that mean?
Yes, so that is something new that I've been bringing, part of the innovative tools and strategies. I bring God into the conversation of money. And money, when you look at money, money is an energy. Money is an energy, and it needs to be flowing freely in and out of our life. We tend to try to grasp and hold on to money. I see it all the time. Clients they're hoarding money in a bank account, terrified, living in fear that something's going to happen with the markets or with their job, right? All these external factors. So they're grasping onto it. But really, money needs to be flowing. It needs that energy. So when it sits in a bank account, you're basically preventing more money coming into your life. So shifting it into something else, into investments, or investing back into you, into your business, into personal growth, shifting it into investment vehicles, into certain accounts, that puts you on another level when it comes to the game of money. So there's a lot that goes into it. I view it as money is love, right? And imagine the kind of world that we would live in if all the love that we put out came back to us in the form of money. How much different would we operate?
So you look at it as religion and love.
Yes.
How do your clients respond to you when you characterize money that way?
They find it refreshing. They love it. It finally kind of makes sense to them. And I started even sending prayers to clients about opening them up to their abundance, helping them shift from their fears into what's amazing about them. What's their value that they're bringing to the world? What's the significance? What's the role that they're playing in this world? And now we make decisions from our heart. We're not making decisions out of fear of missing out. We're not making decisions out of fear of missing an opportunity or running out of money. Now we're making these decisions out of abundance, knowing there always is going to be more there right around the corner. There always has been in their life. There always will be. And these money fears, they are always going to come back and nip us in the butt unless we find ways to work through them and pass them.
Give us an example of someone who would come to you and they have these fears. They're thinking of starting a new business or something of that nature, but they're just afraid to leave their current job because they know that they're getting a fixed income, and as long as they work there, it will continue.
I had three new clients sign up this week based on those exact conversations, Shep. It's true. I get a lot of women come to me when they've hit burnout. They're burnout from whether they're employees or burnout they're business owners, but they are nonstop hustling. And unfortunately, in the corporate world, especially right now during the pandemic, they are overworking their employees so much because they've either had layoffs or they're stretching themselves to hit different quotas. And everyone just seems to be at this frazzled state of overstressed, overworked, overwhelmed. And it seems like that's kind of the point where they're like, I've had enough. Is this all I'm going to do is wake up, go to work, pay my bills, die? There's got to be something else out there for me. And I've had a few women, especially entering the real estate industry right now, which is a crazy time in real estate industry.
Yes.
With housing markets. And they themselves, kind of like me, were trying to find a way to have this voice, to do it right, to find a way that feels good to them, not the way that the industry is telling them to do, what all the realtors are doing, but what separates them and how can they bring their heart into their work. And the one woman, she's obsessed with cooking, loves cooking. I'm like, oh, it's a no-brainer. You are the kitchen realtor. Uh-huh. You are going, everything on your social media, everything in your campaign is all going to be around the kitchen. It could be outdoor kitchens, what you love about the kitchens, what you would do differently. Every house you go into, I'm like, I want you to take a picture of the kitchen, a video of the kitchen, and blast it on social media. I want you interviewing all the restaurants in town, the bars, all of these places. And that lit her up. She's like, that finally makes sense, how I can do real estate on my terms. And pretty shortly after, she got 3 listings. So getting clear on your identity and your intention behind your work and the money, what lights you up, what gets you going, that's what's going to open up the door to more money coming in.
So you're not only working with clients as an advisor, a financial advisor, but you're giving them career guidance as well?
Yes, it's all tied together. And I think this is a big thing that separates me in my work and the significance behind it, because most advisors, they focus on the external factors, the stock markets,
yes,
inflation, taxes, those type of things. But what I like to do, what I love to do, what gets me excited is focusing on what's your heart and soul with money, right? What feels good in your heart and soul? Let's get those in alignment and right. Then let's line them up with the right behaviors for your money. And obviously the businesses, your income, that's a piece of the money. Let's line those up. Then we get to use the external factors to optimize the money. So I work from the inside out, whereas most advisors, and it's not their fault, it's just how the industry was made, focus solely on the external pieces.
So once you've focused that woman who you said focus on the kitchen, whatever, how do you then move from that to optimizing her income?
That's a great question. Yes, thanks for asking that. So now we identify what her role is, right? What does she want to do in this earth? What's that larger game she's playing? Now we align it with her worth, right?
Yes.
We find our purpose. Now we want to make sure that we're getting paid our worth with that purpose. And we figure what's going to be her money-making activities. What are the behaviors of her future millionaire self? Right? We call that person. What would she be doing? What are those behaviors that are going to line her up with the right money flow? Then once the money's coming in, now we plug into my money systems on how are we optimizing that income? How much are we setting aside for taxes? How much are we putting back into the business? How are we saving for retirement? How are we getting that money-making machine, that own money empire growing best for her? And so that she feels good about it. The more we can trust ourselves receiving money because we know what we're going to do with it, it's another way to open up the money flow, to get rid of those money blocks. As a big piece is trusting ourselves as the money comes in and that the money will come in.
And what is her brand? How would you characterize it?
Her brand? So yeah, we were actually having a strategy session yesterday about this. And I said, she feels high end, but she feels like family. That's what I feel like I'm with my family when I talk with her. She's very personal. She's very engaging. She leads with her heart. She's not those pit bull realtors out there. I'm like, that makes so much sense with the kitchen because the kitchen's the heart of the home. And that's the feel that we want. And whenever you're building a brand, I want the brand to feel like my ideal clients, when they come and sit with me, they feel like they're coming home. That I get them, I am them, or I was them. I work with people just like them. I know their problems. I know them in and out. I know what's needed to help them, to get them to that next level and elevate them. And I want your brand to become contagious. This energy, going back to the energy, the money is energy, right? Your brand's an energy. It's its own force, its own being. And the more that we show up in that energy, the more contagious, the more people are drawn to it. It's like a magnet.
As someone who's dealing in this area, do you encourage people to be conservative or take gambles, or when do you take a gamble and when don't you take a gamble?
Well, that's another good one. I keep getting questions about like Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies, right? How much should we put into that? Should we dabble into that? And it's all about what's the purpose of the investment, whether you're investing in yourself. I invest a lot into my business because it grows. And I take that risk. I put it back in knowing my commitment to myself and my business and my work. And that's the biggest piece is what's the intention behind where you're spending and investing your money? Is it for income right now? Is it for future growth? Is this money that you're like, hell, if I do something with it, that's great. But if I don't, if I lose it, it's not going to make or break me, right? Kind of that fun gamble money. So it's kind of like putting the money in a zone. Do you need this money? Is it okay if you make a little gamble with this money? Is this money for retirement, for future growth? And then go from there, align it with the right vehicle. And it's very, very personable. It's very personalized, I should say.
Do you maximize your contribution to a 401k, or do you make contributions to other areas and invest in other areas? How do you decide where to put your money?
Yes, this is why I created my stable money saver money system, because I kept meeting people who would throw all money and all savings into like a 401k. But then when there was an issue and they needed funds, they would have to lean on debt, on credit cards or home equity lines. And if you think about it, if all money is going into a 401k, when you retire, all that money is going to get taxed. So I like having a diversified savings portfolio of retirement money, non-retirement money, emergency money, so that you have accessible funds before retirement and even through retirement. So it's not all tied up into an account that's only going to cause you tax liabilities down the road. But it also comes down to your cash flow, right? How much can you afford to save? How much do you need to save? How much is enough? It's kind of the magic question. How much money do I need by the time I hit retirement so that I can live on, I don't know, $50,000 a year, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year? Finding out that number is key. And then you can back into, well, how much do I need to set aside? Because, Shep, I have people who have $5 million in savings for retirement and they couldn't retire because of the cost of their lifestyle. And I have people on $300,000, $400,000 of savings and they can retire comfortably because they're frugal. They don't spend a ton. So it's very personalized to your cash flow. How are you spending money now? And what do you think you're going to be spending in retirement?
A lot of people don't realize when you say a 401k is taxable, or when you take the money out, explain what that means. In other words, if someone has $1 million, $2 million in their 401k savings and they turn 70 and they have to start taking the money out, they don't have $1 million really.
Correct. So $1 million set aside in a 401k, whenever that money comes out, it's counted as taxable income. Almost like you were earning income from a paycheck. It's ordinary income. And depending on where your income falls that year, you're going to be in a different tax bracket. So give you an example. If you were to take out $50,000 from a 401k, you might be paying $20,000 in taxes. But then that year, same year, you need to take out another $50,000 for, I don't know, a renovation in your house. So now instead of $50,000, you're taking out $100,000. You're going to pay even more in taxes because that will skyrocket you to a higher tax bracket. So this is really important to do some tax planning around your retirement income so that you can stay within a lower tax bracket while taking out the same amount of money. It's very good to put a little bit of work into that because it's going to save you on taxes down the road.
And what's the difference between a 401k and an annuity, or is an annuity a form of 401k?
Yes. So think of a 401k, any type of retirement account. A 401k, there's 403bs for nonprofits like schools, hospitals, police departments. Then there's the IRAs, the individual retirement accounts. Okay, all of those, that is kind of the shelter. And then within those, there can be an annuity, a stocks, bonds, mutual funds. So the shelter is the type of account, the coding of the account for tax purposes. And then within there, you can put the money wherever. Does that make sense, Shep?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just want my listeners to know this because a lot of people don't understand the intricacies of all these investments and that there's taxes out there.
Yes, exactly. Our industry has made it very confusing. We definitely have. But yeah, what kind of account is it? Is this money that the money goes in as after tax money? You already pay taxes on it. Is it going in before you've paid taxes on that money? How is the money within the account growing? If it's in a retirement account, any gains, you don't pay taxes on that money. And then when you start to withdraw the money, that's when you pay taxes on it. Or there's non-retirement accounts that they're invested in stocks and bonds, mutual funds, things like that. And each year they grow. Any growth you've had, that's when you pay taxes on that year. expensive. So it's worth it knowing, am I taking advantage of tax benefits, whether in a retirement account or in a non-retirement account today, but also in retirement in the future? Or even you get to the point for your heirs, right? How are they going to be taxed on this money, the next generation?
So you have to think even beyond your generation to the next generation.
Did you know 70% of wealth is lost from one generation to the next?
I did not know that.
It's a high number, and it's with taxes, it's with fees, penalties, or just mismanagement of the funds.
Now, when people retire today, is it the same as retirement 40 years ago or 20 years ago, or is there a new retirement? Do people have second careers and do more?
I don't think I've ever seen retirees as active as I see them today. My retired clients are the hardest to schedule meetings with because they are so busy. They're in clubs, they're at dance classes, they're volunteering, they have businesses, they're part owners of gyms or other businesses. And I think back to my grandmother. My grandmother passed away. She was 98. Her sister was 100. They passed away within 2 months of each other. But when her and her husband retired, they had a retirement party. They went on a cruise, and that was about it. Unfortunately, sadly, my grandfather, he passed away 6 months into retirement. And then my grandmother lived for another 30 plus years on her own. But for them, he had their railroad pension. They had some CDs at banks. They might have had stock in like Prudential or AT&T, right? The big names, especially in New Jersey. And that was about it. But nowadays, it's a completely different ballgame. People, they're working longer, or they're trading that corporate nonstop hustle job for something else. They're creating a coaching business. They're consulting. They're doing something that's more flexible and on their own terms and having some money. And then they use that money to travel, or it's kind of play money. Now it's something that they can do for fun. They're traveling a ton. Not right now during COVID. They're very antsy to get going again. I have one couple, they have a trip every month of the year.
Really?
Every month of the year. They have a trip. I would be exhausted, but they love it. The retirement communities are huge, where there's a clubhouse, and every day there's an event, there's a club, there's social gatherings. It's like college again. It's exciting.
A lot
more.
A lot of people retire, I don't know if a lot, but some people retire specifically in college towns, don't they? Because they want to take courses, they want the activities, the shows, the movement.
Yes, the entertainment, the social kind of nightlife, day life, right? They're taking courses, there's sports games, there's events, there's art shows, there's a lot drawing them back in. And that's such a big piece of retirement. And I see it with all my clients who are retired, even my parents, staying socially engaged and involved is really helpful. Mentally, stay mentally sharp and engaged. But also, like, we need that connection. And one of my clients, she's single, and during COVID, she goes, I didn't get a hug for 8 months. 8 months without human touch.
Yeah.
Which is so sad. She's like, and she's a therapist, so she knows. She's a psychologist. She knows how important that is, and she sees it with her clients. So it's important to be able to have those connections.
How has COVID affected your clients and your business also?
I have a lot of clients who they cannot wait to retire because of how demanding the corporate world's been on them during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing so much more estate planning because they're seeing death. They're seeing significant others, loved ones going into the hospital and not knowing if they're coming out or not. And it's been on their mind to get the estate documents done. We've been reminding them about them. Like they're going through and experiencing it. So there's a lot more doing with the life insurance, with estate planning as well. And there's a lot more fear There's a lot more fear, and that's a big thing when we're making decisions, especially financial decisions, out of fear. We typically don't get what we're really after. It usually is becoming a very rational, emotional decision. So it's been a lot of, hand holding and talking to my clients and explaining what's happening in the economy, right? What's the difference between Main Street and Wall Street, right? Main Street, very different picture than what's happening in Wall Street. The market's taking off. Where's the disconnect? What can they trust? What can't they trust? So it's been a very interesting year. And the one benefit is my clients are more engaged than ever, which is good.
A lot of younger people who are living in cities have moved out during the pandemic because they want more space. They don't want to live in one room, and they get whatever reasons. You think that's going to continue?
That's going to be a very interesting trend. And I know friends and clients that they're working remotely, so they moved someplace for 6 months. Because why not? Why not take this opportunity to live in a new city? Also taking advantage of lower rents, renegotiating their rent. So lower because the demand isn't quite there. I think at some point it's going to revert back, or there's going to be more cities, but smaller cities, kind of these towns, these hubs growing, which I'm experiencing in our town, growing and building and working on the infrastructure there. Even I have clients who they own commercial property, and they're actually getting tenants who work from home, but they need to get out of their home. So they need their own space, whether they don't have a dedicated office at home, or maybe they have children who are being homeschooled and they need more quiet when they're working. So the at-home workers are now renting office space in downtowns. So it is very interesting to see what's been happening and what's going to happen going forward.
Is this a good time for someone who's thinking of retiring and wants to be in a city and is now in the suburbs to get a place in a city?
It could be. It really could be. That's a great point. I know I have clients who are looking out of the state, but there isn't a big inventory anywhere in the States right now, from what it sounds like. And I work with clients who are realtors in all different states, from here to California, Ohio, all over, and there's no inventory. So don't rush into it. But like you said, if you're going the opposite direction, if you're going where everyone's fleeing, there could be some real opportunities there. But get educated. Get educated.
And Jessica Weaver is educating us this afternoon on finances and retirement, and we have a lot more to talk about. It's time for us to take a break now. This is The World of Work. I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and we'll be back after these messages.
Mama don't allow no above ground nuclear testing around here. Mama don't allow no above ground nuclear testing around here. We don't care what Mama don't allow.
You're listening to WDVR 89.7 Delaware Township, New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Darlene Love, and I'm listening to Shep Cohen. He's a rebel on WDVR FM. God bless. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Gene. Tune in Fridays at 5 for 2 hours of energetic rock and pop that'll help you to remember what it felt like to really rock back in your hippie days. That's Anything Goes. Fridays, 5 to 7, only here on WDVR.
Tune in Friday nights from 7 to 10 p.m. and relive the big band years. Right here on WDVR.
Do you like adventure? Then pack a snack and join me, Melba Toast, on the road less traveled. We'll enjoy a wide variety of music on our travels and learn about each other too. Join me on Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m. and we'll see where this road takes us.
Boom, boom, doo 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 doo, boom, boom, doo 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 doo, boom, boom, doo doo We plant the food. We drive the cab. We load the ship. We run the lab. We build the bridges. We fly the plane. We do the work. This is our day. We do the work.
Boom, boom.
We do the work.
Boom, boom.
We do the work. This is our day. We type the page. We clean the streets. We sew the clothes. We change the sheets. We sell the goods. Yes, we do. We lay the stone. We do the work. This is our home. We do the work. 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 This is our home.
And we do the work here at WDVR, and we're speaking with Jessica Weaver, who is the author of a number of books, but one we'd like to talk a little bit about now is Strong Women, Stronger Assets. Tell us about that book, bestseller. How did you think of writing it, and who's your audience?
Sure. So that book started, I saw the increase in popularity for the blog, my blog, Not Your Father's Advisor. And I saw the need for making this financial jargon, the financial information, more relatable and engaging for women. And I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And the next day I said, I'm going to write a book. And I committed to writing it. I promised my husband I would write it and get it published before she came, which I did. Oh. We launched it in May, became a bestseller. It came out in June. And in August is when my daughter was born. And that book really caters to women going through a transition in their life. There are stories of women going through divorce, going through the loss of a loved one, of a husband, career changes to retirement. And it really is kind of their tool guide to rebuild their life and get it to work better for them, even from before. And what are the money pieces to put together? How do they, and the tagline, the subtitle is, how to raise your net worth by raising your self-worth, right? Let's start with the internal factors that direct our bank accounts. And this is what I noticed, Shep. I would see women, and you can put yourself in their shoes, when their bank account's at a new low, how do you think they felt about themselves?
Pretty lousy.
Pretty bad. Or their debt's now a new high, right?
Yeah, the same.
They don't feel good about themselves. Yet, when their bank account went up again, or they had their best month ever, then they felt good. So I said, what if we reversed the variables in the equation, and we started with our self-worth? Will our net worth follow? And this is what I've seen as when women start to work with me, they're not committing to work with me. They're not. They're committing to work, to show up for themselves. They're committing to themselves, their money, and their future. Now they start to show up. They're getting engaged. They're getting educated. They're making more intentional decisions with their money. They're shifting their behaviors. They're shifting their mindset. That we're getting rid of the beliefs, the limiting beliefs holding them back. And the money always followed. It always followed. Whether they got a promotion or a raise or new clients, the money comes. And it's just amazing to see. And I wanted to showcase women. It doesn't matter how old they are when they're starting to do this. I have women in their 60s shifting their career or getting a divorce, and this is the first time they're actually going to manage the money by themselves. And they show up for themselves. They show up for their money, and they start to understand how much they're worth it, and that they are valued in this world, that they are significant players in the game of money.
Women historically have not been really taken seriously in the game of money. Why not?
It's true. When you look at it, women spend 85% of the world's wealth. We spend 85% of it. we only earn 10% of the world's wealth. So there's a lot of disconnects of like what's going into that. And there are things with the job opportunities. I get that. But there's also, we shy away from going for a promotion. We shy away from asking for a raise or for more money. We shy away from increasing our prices. And the more that we can step into that 7, 8, 10-figure earner that we want to become, that we want to stretch ourselves to, the more we can step into that person and do the behaviors that she's doing, the quicker we're going to shift that bar, that 10%. And the more confident we're going to feel with our money, the more control and comfortable we're going to feel with it. So I think instead of shying away from it, let's start playing an active role with money and get engaged with it again.
And we've used the phrase game of money. What exactly does that mean?
So you think about it, there's kind of two different ways to play the game of money. The one game is there's only so much money out there. So Shep, if you earn an extra $30,000, that means there's $30,000 less for me, right? And it's how our whole society has been ingrained, this scarcity mindset. It's how marketing and advertisers make their living. That you need this too. There's only so many left. You need this now. You need the big house because your friend just bought the big house. Getting jealous of one another. Or there's this other game that I love playing, especially with my women. Shep, if you earn more money and you hire me to help you, I'm going to earn more money and I'm going to help you earn even more money, and we're all going to grow together. Instead of viewing each other as threats to money, there is more than enough money. There is more than enough people to help. Let's all connect together and we can raise this up together. And I think when we start to view money as a game, it's more fun. It's more fun. We want to do it. We're kind of channeling our inner child. Like, let's play. Let's see what's involved in this. Let's find out how it can work. And kind of taking the emotions away from it too.
And when you say get together and to make money and engage in money-making activities, what would be an example of that? A lot of people are reluctant to share their financial arrangements with others.
It's true. You're right. It's such a faux pas to talk about money. Right? You're rubbing it in my face. Don't tell me about your financial successes. Don't tell me about your debt. There's almost judgment around it. And it's why I built this community for women to come together and to celebrate when they've had a killer month, when they've hit a new high with their income or their savings, right? Celebrate them coming into the $1 Million Club and to share those celebrations. And I'll give you an example. My best friends are financial advisors and money coaches. It's very rare. And they're even right in my territory. They're right next to me, but I've never viewed them as a threat. Instead, we share with one another what's working really well. And we give it to one another. We give each other the strategies. We also tell each other what's not working so that the other person doesn't have to go through and waste time and money doing something that's not going to result in the money or the results that we're after. So finding your tribe of people who are doing what you're doing, have done what you want to do, or want to get there with you, surrounding yourself with those people. We just brought on 4 women, or last 3 weeks, 4 women in the real estate industry, all different areas. And I said to my other advisor who just joined the Women's Wealth Boutique, let's have a powwow with just these women in the real estate business. Like, how powerful is that going to be? They're not threats to each other, but there's so much that they can learn and do together and share. Instead of reinventing the wheel for each one of them, let's bring them together.
And has that happened yet, or is that something you're planning?
That's something we're planning. Yes. I think it's going to be fantastic because now we have women that they have a sole focus. We have an industry. We know how it works. And now we can kind of brain them. What are all the strategies? What are we building? How can we leverage each other? How can the more we can leverage each other, the more we're becoming an expert at what we do. and repurposing things instead of always recreating it. So, but we do that all the time. We're constantly bringing women together who are in a similar, whether in the corporate world or they're business owners, bringing them together to have these powerful conversations.
Is that like networking? Are you bringing to? Are you facilitating networking?
I guess you could call it networking. Yes, but it's on a much more intimate level. It's not like those B&I groups where you show up for breakfast every week. This is a lot more in depth, and I call it forming your money council, right? Your tribe. Who are those go-to people in your life that you can celebrate with, that you can go through tough times with, who always have your back and want what you want, right? You're on a similar trajectory, or they've already done it. Now they're mentoring you.
Now you mentioned some of your friends are financial advisors, which I've heard of, but you said a money coach. That's a new one, as far as I know. What's the difference between a financial advisor and a money coach?
That's a great question. So her role is to get people ready to work with a financial advisor. So maybe, because usually to work with a financial advisor, you need to have some sort of money for them to invest for you.
Yes.
Something to work with. So she works with people, maybe they're in debt or they're just starting out or they've been overspending for years and they don't have much to show for all the money that they've earned. She gets to them to a place where they have a positive cash flow. They have more money coming in than they're spending now, and they're ready to build real assets. So she gets them in the early stages and then passes them on to other advisors. And it's a booming space right now, or the money coaches. The most important one is whenever, doesn't matter what kind of coach, make sure that the coach that you're signing up for has done what you want to do, right? They're not pretending or they're a fake. They've actually accomplished what you want to do.
Now you've decided that you're going to work with women. Are you one of the few people who is really concentrating their business in working with women?
So all of our marketing and our events are geared towards women, but I do have male clients. I have a lot of couples and I have families that I work with. I get men who come to me who manage most of the money and they go, I want to make sure that my wife is taken care of if something happens to me. So I want her to have a relationship with you. And I want her to start getting more and more engaged and involved with the money. So sometimes they're leading the relationship between me and the couple because they want to make sure somebody is there lined up to help their wife. Gosh forbid something happens to them. So I just got one of my clients' ex-husbands. She referred to me.
Really?
That's a interesting dynamic. But yes, I do. Some of my favorite clients are men.
Go ahead.
I saw so many issues that maybe my grandmothers had to deal with. And I knew I didn't want other women to have to go down those roads and hit rock bottom because they didn't know any differently, because the man controlled everything. And I wanted them to have a safe place to go, get educated, and get the support that they need.
Now, you're also a blogger. Tell us about how that started and how often you blog and what your topics are.
Of course. So the blog is Not Your Father's Advisor. Name kind of came from my dad being an advisor, and the majority of advisors are men in their 50s and 60s. And I wanted to have a very fun, light, feminine approach to money. And it's really more lifestyle. I share a lot of my journey and what I've been through being, I have a mom. I have a 3.5-year-old daughter and a 1.5-year-old son at home. So going through being a full-time advisor, having my children with my spouse who works full-time as well, and wanting to grow this business at the same time, not wanting to have to sacrifice, growing my business and having children. I wanted to do it all, and what that looked like for me going through it. And the blog, we put up something every week. We have tons of content up there. all around, from the spiritual side of money to the practical money systems, right? When money comes into your life, what are we doing with it? How are we optimizing it and utilizing it? And even the spiritual side of money, channeling in our higher self, even God, whoever your higher power is, what does that mean for you? And what lights you up about money, about your life? That's the biggest piece.
Does anyone ever reject the spiritual aspect when you're talking about that? Do they say, let's get to the bottom line. Let's not talk about spiritual things.
Sure. So I know my clientele, and who lives in faith, who embraces that, and who they just want the practical side. But you also channel in people who are similar to you. So people who are drawn to me are probably the ones that are embracing the spiritual side, that do like to integrate it. And it might be new for them, but it's something that feels really good. And it gives them this overall sense of peace with their money. So if that's what it takes to get them peace with their money, then I'll do whatever it takes.
This is the world of work. So I'd like to ask you what a typical day for you is.
What a typical day for me is, I get up at around, this morning, my kids were up at 5 a.m. So I was up at 5 a.m. and I brought them for a run, put them in the double stroller and went for a run, dropped them off at daycare, and I came into work and I do my daily money practice, where I spend about 15, 20 minutes and I say a prayer. I do a money meditation, and I show up for my money. What are my goals? What am I calling in today? What's the intention behind the day? And then I going through, and I might have calls with clients. I might have, this week I had 2 speaking engagements and 2 media appearances. So I have those throughout the week. So I love what I do. I love speaking. I love staying in this creative role where I am constantly being innovative with my clients' work. I am writing. I have my 3rd book coming out. I'm being able to speak. I just love talking about money. That's what lights me up. So it's whether it's with client calls or reviews, talking to new prospects. I had about 5 or 6 new prospects over the last 2 weeks to speaking engagements. It's just so much fun to me.
Do the speaking engagements get you more business? Does it work that way?
They do. Yes. I do about 2 to 3 a month, and it gets a lot of word out about what we're doing and what we're building, and calling in the right women who are attracted and drawn to that. So yes, I usually get at least 1 to 2 really good clients from each speaking engagement.
You're always thinking of new things. Are you learning different things, and something that might have worked 5 years ago you discover doesn't work anymore? Or how does your thinking, or how has your thinking evolved over the years? I know it was a big step when you left the industry and you went into what you're working in now, but since then, have your ideas evolved?
Yes, I feel like a mad money scientist, where I will take new things, or even reworking old traditional things. Even when you look at the law of attraction, that's ages old. It's ancient. But bringing that into present day and how it works in such a traditional industry like the financial industry, that is what gets me excited. So I'll test things on myself, and then I love bringing it to my clients and seeing how it's working. I'm just constantly reworking things to make it work better for my clients and for myself. So it's evolved so much, and I embrace it. I love it. And I talk about any type of brand. It's a living, growing being, and it's going to change and mature and adapt as you do through life. And that's what makes it exciting, is I'm not teaching the same things over and over again, that I get to bring these new strategies, the innovative ideas to my clients. And they like that. They like that proactive approach.
How are you able to juggle family life, professional life, and writing? Now you're on your 3rd book. How do you do all that?
And it's kind of just grown as I've added in these different tiers to my business. A huge thing is the support So behind me, I have my tech woman, I have my social media woman, right? I have my assistant. I have these women that come in, plug in, and they're helping me execute things. So I'm here I'm creating and I'm working with my clients and the women in our community nonstop. And once I create it, I'm sending it to the one person to get on social media or onto the website. So having the support I learned the hard way is very huge. And to go my first maternity leave, both of my maternity leaves were about 6 weeks, very short. And the whole time I'm still on emails, still making sure my clients are taken care of. But I had no extra support. I was even the one manually entering the blogs onto the website. Fast forward to my second maternity leave, and I had 3 assistants working on different projects and things. So we were able to have an event the month after I had my baby.
Wow.
All I had to do was show up. We had people there. We had tickets sold. And all I do is show up. So having the support is huge. And then carving out time. Right now, I've been taking Fridays off. Having time for myself to recharge before the weekend with the kids has been a huge game changer.
Your new book, what is the, what area are you focusing on?
This book I am so excited for. It's called Confessions of a Money Queen. And it is 10 money moves to claim your power and prosperity. And it takes on the spiritual side of money. There's 10 money moves, and what we're doing is we're complementing it with a full course. So each money move will have a piece, a money meditation, a prayer, and a training that goes along with it. So you can go even deeper than just the book. But it really is there so that to help people profit off of peace and purpose in their life.
When you say course, is that something you're teaching or that's...
Yes, it's going to be a recorded course so they can tap in. There's the money meditation that they can use at any point when they need it, but it'll just walk you through what's going on in the book, and it's going to be geared around a 10-week period.
Have you set that up yet, or I'm just curious what your thoughts are? How are you putting together a course?
Yes, we're almost done. All the videos are recorded. Then it's going to the video editor, and then they'll be uploaded into the portal. So we're almost there. The creative piece of it, I'm done with my piece. Now I just hand it off to the next ones. And this is a very, very strong course. This is probably the thing that I'm most proud of. That is completely a labor of love, came straight from my heart. And it's going to be a huge game changer for women.
Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Of course. So it's really been this journey. I wrote the book in a week. It just poured out on me in a week. It poured out on me at the worst possible time. It was the busiest time I've ever had in my career. And God was basically saying, you need to put all of that on hold and get this out. I wrote it in a week. That was in October, November of the fall of 2020. And then since then, I've had these huge changes with me spiritually, even with my business, to the point where my income started to double each month over the last few months, hitting new highs every month. And I started to notice every shift I was making and leaning more and more on God, I was receiving more and more money. I'm working less, but I'm giving more value to my clients than ever. And I'm earning more. And I'm like, wow, these are huge, significant shifts happening in my business. And I started to keep track of what I was doing. And that's how I built the course. So it's basically over the last, 6, 7, 8 months, broken down into these 10 weeks. So instead of you having to go through this journey yourself, I break it down for you, and each piece just keeps building on itself till you get to this point where you are every day, you're just leaning on and doing an inspired action. Instead of doing what everybody else is doing, trying to do 100 things at once, you're focusing on that one thing that lights you up. And trusting the money's coming. And basically receiving money miracles every day. And that's what's happened to me. Receiving wealth every single day.
Jessica Weaver, if someone wants to speak to you, contact you, how can they reach you?
Great question. So jessicaweaver.com is where the blog lives, my books. You can even get, especially if you go there right now, jessicaweaver.com, We have the book bonuses for Confessions of a Money Queen with a money spirit guide, money meditations. You even get instant downloads of my first 2 books. So there's a ton of amazing resources right there for free. And also a link to get on my calendar is there at jessicaweaver.com.
Jessica, we have about a minute left. Closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. Well, this has been such a great time talking with you, Shep, and love all the questions that you're asking me. I think for the people who are listening is, what have you done for yourself today? How have you invested in your growth, in your money, and what you want for your life and your desires? And really thinking there's no income limit. The only person that's putting an income limit on us is ourselves. So if that money block's removed, if we take that away, what is it that you want for your life?
Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. The hour has flown by. We've spoken with Jessica Weaver, who is the author of Strong Women, Stronger Assets. Very interesting read. I suggest you get it and look for a newer book coming up. This is The World of Work. I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and coming up is Gene with Anything Goes. Jessica Weaver, thank you for joining us in The World of Work this afternoon. It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
so much. This is great, Shep.
Thank you, and good luck in all your endeavors, and hopefully you can just build on them in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Coming up next is Gene, and this is The World of Work. I'm your host, Shep Cohen, and I'll see you next week.